Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm really excited to share a clean and simple graduation card design that proves sometimes less really is more. With a nearly monochromatic color palette, this card has an elegant and timeless look, perfect for celebrating such a meaningful occasion. It's hard to believe how fast time flies. Many of the kids in our neighborhood who were just little babies not long time ago are now graduating. I can already imagine the day I will be making a graduation card for my own little one who's just over 20 months old. It'll be here before I know it. Well, before we take a look at this card project, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that get notified every time I post a new video. Let's start by taking a look at the stamps and dies that we will be using to create this card. For the focal point, I'll be using the CZ Designs Grad Hats die, and for my sentiment, I have chosen the Hats of Grad stamp set. Now, both these are from an older release by Simon's Stamp. I have used the stamp set for a couple of previous projects, but this will be my first time using the Grad Hat die as the main focal point or the main element for our card. We will be adding sentiments from the stamp set, and I will not be using the coordinating dies here for this card. Now, as you can see here, the die set includes two pieces, one for the base of the graduation cap, while the other for adding those beautiful finishing touches. I separated these two using my wire snips to make them easier to work with. To cut the base of the graduation cap, I'm using white cardstock, and for all the detailed layers, I've chosen some stunning specialty papers from Your Paper Insider. For the black element of the cap, I went with this gorgeous matte black paper that has a soft, almost velvet like texture. It feels luxurious to touch. And to add some sparkle to the tassel, I used the super sparkly luster diamond paper for that perfect touch of shine. I didn't want to waste any of these beautiful papers, so I carefully positioned them over the die to get most out of each of those pieces. Now, since the glitter paper is quite a bit thicker than your regular standard cardstock, it took a couple of passes through my die cutting machine to get a clean and precise cut, but the result is totally worth it. Now that we've got all the little pieces cut and ready to go, it's time for the fun part, putting everything together to create our graduation cap. This die set is honestly super simple to assemble, which makes the whole process really enjoyable. There are just four pieces in total, and one of them is the large base of the cap. I used my Barely Art liquid glue to adhere everything in place. Just a little goes a long way and it holds beautifully. As you'll see when I start layering, there's a bit of white border showing beneath that detailed piece, since I used white cardstock for the base layer. I actually like the little bit of contrast, but if that's not your thing, you can definitely cut the base out of black cardstock instead. I'd recommend using a slightly different shade of black or maybe a textured black paper for the base layer. Just helps to the detailed pieces to stand out and not blend in too much. Here's a fun little tip I thought of after finishing the card. You can add a tiny embellishment or a small gem at the corner of the cap where the tassel would be attached to mimic a little button on the real graduation cap. It's such a small detail, but it really adds a nice finishing touch. And speaking of tassels, how gorgeous is that silver sparkle? I used the luster diamond glitter cardstock for mine, but you could totally switch it up for gold, rose gold, or any other metallic cardstock you love. It adds just the right amount of shine and makes the card feel extra special. Here's a closer look at the graduation cap. How gorgeous is that matte black with the sparkly tassel? It is such a strong focal point, you really don't need to add much else to the card front. To keep up with a clean monochromatic look, I used a light gray panel for my background and trimmed it down with a Spellbinder's nesting die to leave a nice wide border. Usually, I would cut down my panel to be 4 by 5 and quarter, but in this case, this panel is a lot more smaller than the regular 4 by 5 and quarter that I usually create. And just like the cap's base, I'm using white for the card base to keep everything looking fresh and cohesive. So originally I had planned to make a top folding portrait style card, but once I picked out my sentiment, I realized it was just a little bit longer than I expected. Rather than trying to squeeze it in, I decided to switch things up and go with a landscape layout instead. It gave me a lot more room to work with, and honestly, I'm really happy with how it turned out. To get everything lined up just right, I placed my little gray panel on my new Altenew stamp wheel. I love using this tool because the sticky mat holds the cardstock perfectly in place while stamping, no slipping or shifting, which is such a game changer. I also used my Simon System grid mat underneath to help make sure the sentiment was properly aligned. And before I even started stamping, I did place my graduation cap onto the panel just to get a rough idea of where everything would go. That way, I could position the sentiment exactly where I wanted it to be. For stamping, I used VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It is one of my go tos for crisp, black, bold impression. I started with the main sentiment which says Congrats Grad and then added a little sub sentiment underneath that which says You made it. I thought it was a perfect touch, simple, encouraging, and it ties in really well with the overall graduation theme. And just like that, we've got our front panel stamped with both the main sentiment and this little sub sentiment. The card base is ready, the focal point is done. It's finally time to bring all the pieces together and finish this elegant graduation card. I started by adhering the light gray panel onto the white card base using some liquid glue. Super easy and gives me a little wiggle room to get everything straight. Then I grabbed some foam tape to pop the graduation cap and give it a little bit of dimension. But just before I stuck it down, I felt that this background needed a little extra something. So I went back to my stamp set and pulled out the tiny confetti stamp. Well, you could also add some embellishments, but I wanted to keep it really simple, so that's the reason I chose the confetti stamp. I randomly stamped a few of them across the panel using Simon Says Stamp's positively saturated ink in the shade flannel. It's a soft gray that blends beautifully with the background for a subtle festive touch and also keeping in mind the monochromatic look. Once I was happy with the confetti placement, I peeled off the backing from the foam tape on the graduation cap and placed it right onto the card front. And that's it. Here's a look at the finished card. I really love how clean and simple and elegant it turned out. The soft grey confetti in the background adds a fun detail without taking away from the minimalist style, and that sparkly tassel made with the luster diamond glitter paper adds just the right amount of shine. I kept things monochromatic for this version, but I think it would be so fun to try a rainbow background using those confetti stamps and maybe even add some color to the sentiments too. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching today's video and got a little creative inspiration from it. All the supplies that I used are listed down below in the description box if you'd like to check them out. Please note that all of those links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.